Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down one of the most iconic figures in, well, all of pop culture history.
You hear that sound and you instantly know who it is. It's a sound effect so unique it's actually trademarked. It's the sound of pure, cinematic evil.
So, how did a man in a mask become maybe the greatest villain in movie history? Well, to answer that, you have to look at how he was deliberately crafted, piece by piece, into this icon that has both terrified and fascinated us for decades.
Vader's creation wasn't just some single stroke of genius. Nope, it was a masterful collaboration of some seriously incredible artistic talent. It really took a team of 4 key talents to build this unforgettable presence. It all started with George Lucas, who just imagined this tall, dark figure with a fluttering cape. Then, concept artist Ralph McQuarrie gave him that iconic samurai-inspired helmet, which tapped into this ancient warrior imagery. After that, John Mallow's costume design grounded it by mixing in the stark feel of a German military helmet and even clerical robes, making him look like some kind of intimidating dark priest. And of course, the final touch. Sound designer Ben Burt used a simple scuba regulator to give him that terrifying, inhuman breath. Even his name is kind of shrouded in mystery. George Lucas has said it's a variation of Dark Father, which, looking back, feels incredibly prophetic, right? But he's also hinted at other things like Dark Water. That little bit of ambiguity just adds another layer to the whole mythos of the character.
But in iconic design, that's only half the story. The real power of a villain comes from the hero they used to be. And before the mask, before the cape, there was Anakin Skywalker, a prophesied savior. Anakin was believed to be this guy, the chosen one. He was supposedly born without a father and had a connection to the Force that was just off the charts. He wasn't just another powerful Jedi, he was supposed to be the galaxy's ultimate hope.
His fall to the dark side wasn't just one bad decision. It was a slow, tragic train wreck. It starts with the powerlessness he felt as a child slave, which then boils over into this uncontrollable rage when he loses his mother. And the final blow? It's when he betrays everything and everyone he's ever stood for in a twisted, desperate attempt to save his wife, Padme.
And here is the really fascinating twist, and it comes from his creator. George Lucas insists that even at his absolute worst, his most monstrous, Anakin was still fulfilling his destiny as the chosen one. Just think about that for a second. That one idea completely reframes his entire story. It's not a story of failure, but a dark, roundabout path to a fate that was already written. So, after that fall, for 2 very long decades, Darth Vader became the armored Iron Fist of the Galactic Empire. After that horrifying duel with his mentor Obi-Wan Kenobi on the lava planet Mustafar, he was rebuilt as more machine than man. I mean, that iconic suit isn't just armor. It's a mobile life support system. It's a constant, painful reminder of his failures, and it's basically a prison that he built for himself. As the Emperor's top agent, he became a symbol of absolute terror. He hunted his former friends, the Jedi, to extinction. He oversaw the construction of a weapon that could destroy entire planets, and he crushed any little spark of rebellion with just unmatched ruthlessness. But the real conflict in the original trilogy, it wasn't really Vader versus the rebellion. It was an internal war. It was a battle between the monster he'd become, the man he once was, and the son he never even knew he had. On board the second Death Star, this all comes to a breaking point. Vader has to stand there and watch as his master, Emperor Palpatine, just unleashes these torrents of Force lightning on Luke Skywalker, torturing his own son to the brink of death. And in that moment, he faces this impossible choice. Does he stay loyal to the Dark Master who gave him all this unimaginable power, or does he save the son who represents everything good he ever lost? In that one final, selfless act, Anakin Skywalker comes back. He lifts the very source of all his power and his pain, and he throws him into the abyss, taking a fatal blast of lightning himself. He destroys the Sith, and finally he brings balance to the Force. The prophecy? It was true all along. But Vader's story didn't end when he died on that Death Star, not by a long shot. His impact has rippled out far beyond the screen, cementing him as a permanent fixture in our global culture. I mean, check this out. The American Film Institute ranked him the 3rd greatest movie villain of all time. The only 2 characters they considered more villainous, Hannibal Lecter and Norman Bates. That is the legendary company he keeps. And you can feel his presence in some really unexpected places.
His helmet's shape inspired scientists to name a beetle after him. Architects carved a grotesque in his likeness on the Washington National Cathedral. Of course, he's been lovingly parodied as Dark Helmet in Spaceballs, and, well, less flatteringly, he's used as a political metaphor for powerful, intimidating figures. He's really become a universal shorthand for evil. And all of that leaves us with the central question of his legacy, doesn't it? Was his final act of redemption enough to wash away a lifetime of atrocities? It's that complexity, that question, that makes him not just a great villain, but one of the most tragic and enduring characters ever created.